Welcome to the Real Faith Podcast with me, your host, Chris Goins, a podcast featuring real talk with real people about God, theology, and life. Our goal, authentic, vulnerable, and raw conversations on a variety of topics with a view towards looking at what God's Word has to say. These conversations will help you apply your faith in God's Word to the real challenges of life. With that, let's jump into today's episode. Welcome to the Real Faith Podcast. Glad to have you back this week. Please like this, share it, rate it, review it, subscribe to it. And whatever you do, know this Sunday, March 28th, this is Palm Sunday, the Real Faith Podcast for 1 week will feature a daily drop every morning, really early, so that while you're on the drive, the commute to work, you can listen. And we're calling this series that we begin on Palm Sunday, Zach, the week that changed the world. We really want to go through the last week of Jesus' life on this earth as we prepare for Easter Sunday, and it's going to be an amazing series. We're going to make a PDF available of the sessions. We'll tell you more about how to download that PDF when you join the podcast on Palm Sunday, March 28th, early in the morning. Again, that podcast will drop. So make certain you tune in. Subscribe today. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that little icon where you get notified, the little bell where you're notified when this drops, because we want you to be along for the journey. It's going to be a beautiful journey through the week that changed the world. But today we are back continuing our discussion loosely based on the book by Jeff Henderson, Know What You're For.
Yeah, last week we talked about, for us as a church, the various things that we're for, and it was a fun conversation. If you didn't listen to last week's episode, I encourage you just go ahead and pause right now, go listen to part 1 of this conversation, and then pick up with part 2. But we have been saying this for a long time as a church, that we want to be known in our community, not what we're against, but what we're for. We even say we're a church for people who have given up on church. And we challenged you guys last week at the end of the episode to really consider for yourselves these 2 questions. What do you want to be known for? And what are you actually known for?
And Zach, the reason for that is if you don't take the time to clarify what you want to be known for, if you don't take that time, you will go on to autopilot. Mm-hmm. And autopilot is often not a place you want to live.
Yeah.
Paul would say it this way in Romans 7. I know it was about a specific subject. It was about his battle with sin. He would say, the good I want to do, I don't do. Mm-hmm. He wanted to be for a variety of things, but he wasn't doing them. It was the evil that he didn't want to do that he said, I constantly revert to. Right. In other words, autopilot is never good. So determine what you're for. Create your own list.
Yeah.
So that you're constantly moving in that direction.
Yeah, if you don't define what you're for, the world will do it for you.
Boy.
And I don't want to be known for those things. Not all of them anyway. But anyway, so that's what we talked about last week. Today's going to be a really fun conversation. We're going to give you just really practical things on how you can apply what you want to be known for so that you're actually known for those things.
Yeah. Zach, after we read Jeff's book, now we had already defined what's really cool, and we're so thankful for this, is years ago when we were starting A2 Church, we actually didn't steal this illustration from the book. I'm always cautious of that. Somebody saying, oh, that came right out of the book. The story where the woman, they're all brainstorming about Gwinnett Church, and she says most churches are known for what they're against. Let's figure out what we're for. And that really became catalytic. They created this sign that went out on the property, #4Gwinnett. It really caught on. Now, we didn't do the For Birmingham thing back then, but we did regularly preach that. What are we for? And we went through that list. That list was culled from old sermon notes that I have. But after we read the book, we were so gripped by the book that we did borrow. Would you say borrow or steal?
Use. We were inspired.
There you go. These 3 statements about A2. In fact, if you go to our website, you'll see this. We are for God.
Yes.
Make no apologies about that. We are for Birmingham. We love this city.
Yes.
God lets us be a part of. And we say regularly, we are for you. And Zach, it's not enough to just say it one time. You have to say it repeatedly. I believe you have to say it until you create culture. And culture isn't created overnight. People will often reorient to the culture of their upbringing. And therefore, if that culture was harsh, they'll revert to being harsh. If that culture was judgmental, they'll revert to being judgmental. So as vision casters, we constantly have to keep it before the people. We're for God. We're for Birmingham. We're actually for the people that come through. Let me tell you a little story. So this just happened yesterday. Such a cool story. People who attend this church know that I have a big heart for those who struggle with addiction because my family has been personally touched with addiction. Now, we don't provide a rehab clinic or a recovery program. When God gives us the leaders for that, we would be open to it. But we're very active in supporting great ministries that do provide those services to people in our community. One guy was attending our church. I'll leave him nameless right now. I could provide his name. But he was attending our church and struggling with a horrible drinking problem, but loved coming to this church. His drinking problem was creating problems in his career. He's skilled in a specific industry, but his alcoholism was just sabotaging his career. He was engaged at that time. His alcoholism horribly soiled that relationship, just tore it apart. So he and his fiance put the brakes on getting married, and he checked himself into a rehab clinic. And after 3+ months in that rehab clinic, he got out last Monday, and one of the first places he wanted to come was A2 Church.
Come on.
And he came to A2 Church, and he actually, for some reason, shame will do a number on us. This week, when you were speaking at the time of this recording, he sat in the parking lot and watched the service online because he wanted to be close, but shame was saying you can't go in. Oof. But he filled out a connection card.
Wow. Sitting
in his car.
Wow. Come on.
He filled out 2 connection cards.
That's awesome.
And the basis of the connection card was, hey, Chris, you know me, and he listed his name, and I won't supply the name. You know me, and I just got out of rehab and been clean and sober for over 3 months, and I need work. And he listed the industry he was in. Could you give me a call? And I want to see if there's any work available. And I called the guy on the phone, and, I have to say things like this. I can't promise you anything. But what I do know is we have people connected with our church family in the industry that you just named. So I'll reach out to those people, and the best they could probably do is give you an interview. And they give you an interview, it'll be up to you to prove it and to walk it across the line. But let's give it a shot. Well, I reached out to 3 business leaders within minutes. I mean, minutes, all 3 got back with me. One of them said immediately, I'll hire him.
Wow.
The other said, I was just talking with my business partner. We need a guy. I'm ready to interview him. Can he interview? So he today had 2 interviews.
That's cool.
The possibility of a 3rd interview. And I said all of that to say that was because for years we've been building a culture that says we're for people.
Yes.
Especially broken people,
Yeah.
especially for people who need a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth, a seventh, a 10th chance. We want to be a church that is for God, for Birmingham, for you. And I love this. And the reason I can share that story is it's not bragging on me. Obviously, it's bragging on God working in the lives of 3 businessmen.
That's cool.
Who didn't have to be cajoled or begged. You just put it out there and bam, yeah, we'll give him a shot. One of them said right off, I'll hire him. I said,
cool.
Whoa. You need to interview him first.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, that's just exactly how powerful defining what you're for can be right there. I mean, it's life-changing. And I love this quote from the book, from Jeff Henderson's book, Know What You're For. When you foster a for culture in your organization, you create something bigger than the bottom line. I mean, because you were for that person, it would have been easy for you to say, oh, that's not really something that I'm a pastor. It's like, no, you're for people. You're going to help him find a job. And then the quote continues. You create purpose. You speak meaning. You get small and personal. And when you get small and personal, your customers will demand that you grow bigger.
We've said it like this, Zach. When you're actually for people, now by the way, note this, it's got to be actual.
That's good.
This has got to be authentic. This has got to be real. This cannot be contrived. Especially in church world, people can smell contrived a mile away.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it just oozes out of the pores of your spirit, I guess. So people smell contrived.
Yeah.
But when it's authentic, here's what's cool. Jeff Henderson in the book, and I've got to use some business language that I'm not really comfortable using as it relates to church. So for those in the podcast audience, please pardon the use of the business language that Jeff uses. He says, when you're genuinely for people, you create a sales force for free.
That's cool.
Now I said I'm uncomfortable because I don't view church as business.
Yeah.
And I don't view our people as a sales force.
Yeah, that's right.
That sort of makes me cringe inside because we're talking about the church of Jesus. What I do believe is this. I do believe that people telling people.
Yes.
Word of mouth is the best, again, pardon this business word, advertising any church or you as a neighbor or any business can have. That's genuine and that is so authentic and real. And boy, you don't have an advertising budget big enough to pay for what happens when 100 people get excited about what God is doing in you and through you.
Well, and it's funny. Don't let this derail us too far off, but people will say, they might even hear us talking about this and be like, oh, well, and if you're part of A2, you might say, well, I hope our church does that. I hope the church does that. I hope we get that word of mouth, blah, blah, blah. The church will do it. It's the church's job. And when Christians tell me that, I'm always like, okay, you're the church, right?
You're the church.
And I could be a lot more sarcastic than that, but I won't. But, you are the church. Like, if you believe in Jesus, then this is like not only a church. It's not just you, Pastor Chris. It's not just me because we're, pastors here. It's our church together. When our whole church starts acting and being the body of Christ, then these types of things. Imagine if our whole church, like everyone that comes on Sunday, started living like the life that they declared that they were for. Like, what if everybody, like just simply that verse I read last week in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, what if us all started not seeking our own good, but the good of our neighbor?
That
like,
could be powerful.
I mean, that would be like the whole city would just flip on its head.
And Zach, I would even go so far as to say this. If you're a part of a church, including A2 Church, and you can't be that genuinely, authentically positive, contagious about it.
Yeah, that's a good word. I like that.
You need to be asking God, does, number one, my heart need to change? Perhaps I've grown cold and apathetic. Jesus said in the last days that our hearts would grow cold. The love of many would wax cold. We would not love God or people the way we should.
Wow.
And maybe you need to ask yourself, has my heart grown cold? Or ask yourself, do I just not align with the mission? Because if you don't align with the mission, get, for heaven's sake, with a mission you do align with.
Absolutely. That's a good word.
Jan and I had a guest in our home some time ago, and this girl was employed by a large church out of state. And she was saying, yeah, I work there, but if I didn't work there, I wouldn't go to church there.
Wow.
That so grieved me and Janet.
Wow.
And Janet is sort of a mentor to this girl, so the appropriate time came for Janet to address that. And her address of it was, that's a dangerous place for your heart to be. If you're at a place just to receive a paycheck, but your heart is not there, the damage that's perpetrating upon you internally could be catastrophic. You need to believe in the organization that you're giving your life to. Otherwise, you're giving a significant portion of your life away to something that you're apathetic at best, and possibly, because when we're apathetic, Zach, I think we tend to not just be apathetic, we tend to run negative.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So we're for the customer. When you're for the customer, let me just say this before we move on to from this. If you're not actually for something, people sense it. People know it big time. And get this, when people believe that you're not for them, we're talking about creating, pardon Jeff's terminology for church world, a sales force for free. Well, they become the exact opposite for free.
Yeah, that's true.
Dissatisfied customers typically tell 9 to 15 other people about their experience. This is from the White House Office of Consumer Affairs. Some tell 20 or more.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just had it wasn't me, but it was my wife, had a terrible experience at a place. And I'm not going to say the place, but like she came home crying, told me, obviously that upset me. I've probably told, and I'm not even a negative person, I've told several people about that experience.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's a real principle. That's powerful.
Yeah. There's an aspect of sharing that kind of information that's protective of friends and neighbors. You don't want them to have the same poor experience that you shared. And some of it's just that we live in a negative world, and some people, they tend to magnify the negative. That's obviously not true about you or Shelby. So I know it was a genuine poor experience that would cause you to ever share that with anybody.
Yes.
Here's another stat. Every year, U.S. businesses lose $41 billion in bad customer service experiences. Because of this, Zach, great businesses actually hire people who do nothing but customer service day in and day out. Now, I know this because my daughter works for a large company. She is in their customer service division. All she does all day, every day she works, is answer a phone, do a chat, return emails from customers who have problems. Yikes. But here's a cool story about my daughter. Let me just brag on her for a moment. Came time for her 6-month review, and they monitor calls, they review calls, they do all of these things. And her superior called her into the office, said, we do these reviews, but the truth is, when it comes to you, you are absolutely crushing it. We don't have any correctives to give to you. We don't have any improvements to suggest to you. In fact, we're going to give you a bonus today, and we're giving you a raise. You are killing it, and all we can say is go out there and keep killing it.
Wow.
But this company cares.
Yeah.
And that's why they hire people like her to interface, because they don't want people to walk away from their organization dissatisfied, them not be aware without a chance to fix it.
Well, and think about what that did to her spirits when she has that conversation with I'm assuming a superior within the organization, and they're hey, great job. Sometimes people just need to hear great job, you know?
We'll talk about it in just a few minutes, but that's critical.
Yes.
So I know that you believe to the core of your being, Zach,
Oh, yeah.
that there is an organization on this planet that is absolutely killing it when it comes to customer service.
No doubt.
When it comes to being for their people.
Yes, Chick-fil-A.
I don't even have to hesitate. Zach, you worked for Chick-fil-A for how long?
4 years.
Zach is one of Chick-fil-A's biggest fans, greatest ambassadors. How often, Zach, do you eat Chick-fil-A?
I'll tell you off air. It's not as, I will say, it's not as much as it used to be. I've never gotten tired of their food. I ate it every single day, multiple times a day for 4 years when I worked there. I got in trouble because maybe I don't think I was being serious, but someone asked me that recently, how long did you work at Chick-fil-A? I was like, yeah, I worked there for 4 years. Those were the best 4 years of my life. That was before I married Shelby.
Yeah, don't say that now.
Shelby was standing right there, and they're like, what are you doing, dude? So I had to retract that statement.
Well, Zach, Truett Cathy was famous for saying this: we're not in the chicken business, we're in the people business.
Yeah.
And they've created this dynamic company of being for the customer. In fact, remember what Jeff Henderson said. He said, when you're genuinely and authentically for the customer, for people, you create a sales force for free. This is a video that a year ago plus, it went viral. It blew up. Mm-hmm. And it was a customer speaking of her Chick-fil-A experience. Some of you are just going to hear the audio of this, but the audio will communicate. Others of you can go on YouTube. You can see the video. We're going to play that. Zach and I will come back and comment after you hear.
Let me tell you something. I don't know what military base these people trained at, but I'm not mad at them. You got 4 people outside with handhelds, okay, under umbrellas. You got 2 people outside the drive-thru to greet you with your food. It be ready. I was in the line 3.5 seconds. That was to order, pay, and get my food. Baby, let me tell you what kind of training they doing. They is in the military in Chick-fil-A. I'm telling you, they have some training that they're doing, and I'm proud of them. I'm proud of them. I don't understand why I go to Popeyes and I got to wait on hot chicken when all you sell is chicken. McDonald's don't ever have nothing working, and don't let me get started on Burger King. Okay? But Chick-fil-A be killing it. They have a military base that they train out of. I'm convinced. And I just appreciate the professionalism. It's hot as hell out here, but they smiling. Cheese, may I help you? Hello, Miss Carissa. How do you know me? Because I told the girl back there, and they communicate. Communication is the key. Fries hot. I didn't even check my bag. And if it's a mistake, then that's what I was supposed to have. That's what I'm saying. Y'all, but I feel I'm emotional right now because in the day we live, people don't even like their jobs like that. But these people, they are on it. They got a scholarship fund. Go in right over your condiments. They say that they give these people a scholarship fund. Take care of your people. Take care of your people, and your people will take care of you. That's the lesson today. It comes through Chick-fil-A, but this is what's real out here in these streets. I'm about to eat with gratification. I didn't mind paying for that. I didn't even mind. Swipe my card. Swipe my card, Chick-fil-A. I got a tear. These fries is hot. Smoke coming off of them. Look at that. Crunchy. I'm satisfied. I don't even need no more. Oh my God. Every one of them like that. Not just one. You can't have it your way. You can have it your way. Thank you. I approve this message. Feliz Navidad.
Now, folks, I have watched that video so many times.
Hilarious.
And it never gets old.
No.
And here's the coolest thing, Zach. No one solicited this from Carissa.
Yeah, that's good.
Nobody asked her to post this video.
That's right.
And yet, at the time we were sharing this has been viewed hundreds of thousands of times.
Yeah.
It's been shared tens of thousands of times. I mean, she has become a Chick-fil-A ambassador.
Oh, man.
And nobody paid her to do it.
Yeah, if they could somehow calculate like what the retail value of this video was, it'd probably be like maybe even $1 million or more in sales revenue.
There's no telling.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when you're genuinely for people. So we promised the people last week that we would give them practical ways we could be for people. So Zach, we've come up with 4 or 5 ways we can communicate that we're for people. Let's walk through that list. Take us through.
Sure. Number 1, practical ways that you can be for people. Number 1, deliver on expectations and commitments.
Yeah. Here's what it means. Just do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah, that's good.
Don't overpromise and underdeliver. Deliver on what you say you will do. Here's the problem, Zach. When expectations aren't matched by our actual experience, the result is frustration.
That's right.
This is true of marriage. This is true of a dating relationship. This is true of what happens when people come to your church. You keep saying you're for people. And when they come, nobody shakes their hand. And I know we're in COVID era, so let's take shaking hands out of the equation. Nobody greets them.
Sure.
Nobody gives them an air fist bump. Nobody acknowledges their presence. They come and they glide, and they've not interacted with a single person. You've not delivered on their expectations.
Wow.
And the result is frustration.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, expectations are potential just bombs that can go off inside of people, especially if you have promised something. I even think sometimes it's better to not only, well, I think it's better sometimes to underpromise and then overdeliver.
Absolutely.
Like keep something secret, and like for instance, I'll give this example. Shelby and I just had some work done at our house, and so we paid this guy to do work for us. And it was their first day. They were going to show up, and he told us the name of the other 2 guys that helps him do the work. And so what we did was, before they got there, we went to Chick-fil-A. We bought them 3 gift cards, and then we wrote them a little note with their names on it. And we said, "Hey, thank you so much for working on our house this week. We so appreciate you guys, and we just wanted you to have lunch or breakfast on us a couple of days."
Dude.
And it's like, we're already paying you to be here, but here is some Chick-fil-A gift cards because I want to underpromise and overdeliver.
Yeah. I love that, man. So deliver on expectations and commitments.
Yep. Number 2.
Give us the second one.
Treat everyone with honor, dignity, and respect.
Oh, Zach. My heart is grieved because many Christians don't simply do this, and it's basic. Honor. Honor.
Yes.
Honor is a biblical command. And I've heard this statement, we give honor to whom honor is due. And I believe that statement, but I want to say everyone deserves honor because respect, I believe, must be earned. But honor comes because a person was created in the image of God.
Yes, that's right.
And therefore, we ought to bestow honor upon every person that we interface with. And there are some simple ways that we can do that. Let's walk the people through this.
Yeah, so there's a SMILE principle. So we'll just walk through each of the letters of this. It's kind of like an acronym. And the first S is smile.
Yeah.
Like if you want to show honor, smile.
Just smile.
Yeah.
I mean, if we live with a disposition, and by the way, Zach, let me just be very vulnerable again. One of the most uncomfortable things that I can do is watch me. Like watch the video of this podcast recording. I am a really serious and a very passionate guy. serious and passion sometimes looks like anger because I get so amped up. I do. And it's not anger. I'm a serious guy. I love to read. I love to study. I feel deeply about the things that I believe and study. And I'm very passionate as well. So it can sometimes be conveyed as anger.
Sure.
And that's so frightening to me because I know how powerful a smile is. Smile is the shortest distance, someone said, between two people. A smile tears down barriers. A smile builds bridges. Just try this. Try this experiment. This is a cool experiment. When you're out sometime today, smile at somebody. And what almost always happens, almost always, if you smile at someone, what happens?
They smile back.
Almost always. And what's really cool is, according to John Gordon, research from Harvard supports the idea that the emotions that you feel are contagious and affect the people around you. When you smile,
Wow.
serotonin is actually released in you. But get this, when you smile at someone, it's also released in them.
That's cool.
It's absolutely cool because you can change someone's mood by your facial expression. So smile. Here's one more thought I'll give you, Zach. Studies indicate that when we meet a person for the first time, we form an initial assumption concerning that person based upon the first 7 seconds of our time together. And those first 7 seconds, often not a word is spoken. It's simply facial expression. Something's being formed by what they see here. Now I won't tell you the name, but I'm a part of a gym, and I'm very predictable at when I go. And in the locker room where I get dressed, there's a guy that he and I get dressed the first time. He may be the most people-oriented person. At least he is, I know, at the gym.
Sure.
But I think he must have that disposition because everybody in that locker knows him by name.
Yeah.
Like he's talking to everybody and he's got this disposition. I mean, to me, when I'm in the locker room and this is my disposition about a locker room,
Get in, get out.
I am not the dude that's going to stand around and talk to you in my underwear, man.
Yes.
I feel so uncomfortable in those moments.
Oh, yeah.
And he just standing around, having a good time, talking to everybody, calling them by name. That's his disposition.
Sure.
And I want to tell you, it's today I met a new guy there in the locker room, and he was interacting with me for a few moments, and this guy walks in. I immediately call him by the first name, but here's what's cool. The dude I was talking to knew him.
Oh, you know that guy?
Yeah.
I love that guy.
Yeah, everybody knows him. He knows everybody
Yes.
in that locker room that goes in that locker room.
That's
in that
cool.
little window segment.
Yeah.
But he does that through his facial expression is always it's inviting.
Yeah.
So smile is first.
Do you remember the first 7 seconds that you met me, Pastor Chris?
The first 7 seconds?
Yeah.
You were like a teenager, dude.
Yeah. Do you remember the first time that we met? I actually do.
Well, please recall it because I don't.
I was sitting here thinking, I wonder what the first time I met Pastor Chris was. I actually do. We went to a Super Bowl party at a house in River Chase, and there was a bunch of people from A2 there. And I went there with the Jacks family. And this was like right when I first started going, because the Super Bowl was in February. I started going in February of whatever year it was, 2012. And you were there.
Yeah.
I think you were wearing a hat that day.
Well, there you go.
I don't remember the first
Did I
7
smile?
seconds.
That's my question.
I don't remember. You were in line at the buffet, so I don't remember.
I had food.
All
I had
right.
food on my mind.
The next letter in the acronym is the letter M in meaningful touch.
Yeah,
That's what it stands
in a COVID era, this this gets a little tricky. But here's what I mean: meaningful touch, i.e., when we're out of this period, a handshake,
Sure.
placing your hand appropriately on somebody's shoulder. This can communicate so much. meaningful touch. I just want to add appropriate meaningful touch.
Yes.
You know, there are some people in this period, and I've had it happen to me. And by the way, it's not offensive to me. I'm always probably going to err on the side of attempting to connect with you. So I'll sometimes put out my hand to fist bump, and some people want to shake. I mean, we have people all over the spectrum. And sometimes people withdraw. I would rather people know that I want to connect with you. That's the disposition of my heart. And if you're like, oh no, I'm not shaking hands. Hey, that's cool. No, I respect that. Respect it immensely. I just want you to know that I care.
That's good.
And you matter to me. So meaningful touch, it's often incredibly powerful in terms of communicating value
And biblical.
to somebody. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we could even get into all kinds of scriptures where scripture even exhorted us to do things like greet one another with a holy kiss.
Yeah.
And that sounds odd
Sure.
in this generation, but we need to know that was the form and means of greeting a person back then. When I moved to South Florida, funny story, the church had a lot of Italians in it. Catholic Italians who become Spirit-filled. Yeah, it was really cool. But the first Sunday we were there, they asked Jan and I to come to the front and stand, and everybody was going to come up and give us the right hand of fellowship, so to speak. That's when they shake your hand. Well, all these guys started kissing me.
Oh, come on.
I mean, I'd never been kissed.
How uncomfortable were you at that moment?
First of all, people that know me know how uncomfortable I am with touch.
Yes.
Like, I like to hug my wife. I like to kiss my wife. I hug my daughters. I kiss them. But I'm not Mr. Huggy.
No.
Like, I'm not that. I've gotten better at that over the years. I used to be really squeamish about that. But everybody was coming up and kissing me. And then they would kiss my wife. I mean, it made me uncomfortable. They were kissing me. Then they were kissing Janet. And I'm like, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I don't know about this.
I learned, actually, they were the church that helped break some of those idiosyncrasies off of me.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, hey, I'll move us along into the next letter. It's I, and it stands for inviting attitude. That's what we want to have. I love this one.
Man, I love it because it changes everything. I'll give you two quick stories. I'm up at my daughter's. They just had a new baby, so we're sitting with our grandchildren. I don't want to call it babysitting because we love hanging out with our grandkids. It's fun. It's a joy. So we get to stay with Jack and Lucy while Chelsea and Cody are at the hospital to have the baby, and their pest service is due. So a young guy comes through with United Pest Service, and he's spraying the house. And this dude has such a great attitude. His attitude is so off the charts, authentically positive. Like, it didn't. So I'm watching him, and I start thinking to myself, I know this dude. I got to know this dude. And he's wearing the face mask, so I can't see his face and all of this. And finally, I just say, dude, I got to ask your name. And his name is Nathan. I hope he hears this. And I said, Nathan, dude, I got to tell you, you represent United Pest Control so well. I mean, man, you are awesome at what? And Janet pipes in. Janet said, well, Chris, you know him because he used to spray our house. But we've been in a townhome for some time. I thought I knew him. His attitude is what I knew, even when I couldn't see his face because of the face mask and the hat and all of this. That attitude was contagious.
That's so cool.
Another example. Right here, we use Cintas for bathroom supplies, for some rugs and various other supplies. Our rep is Dannon. Comes in once every other week.
Sure.
That dude is so kind. So contagiously kind. Every time he comes in, he wants to connect, wants to talk, wants to make sure everything is taken care of. Man, you know what? I'm not a fan of Cintas because I don't know Cintas. But I buy Cintas because of Dannon.
Sure.
His attitude is off the charts. What are we communicating with our attitude? Because an inviting attitude represents so well. And Dannon pulls me into Cintas.
Yeah, that's good. And
Nathan pulls me into United Pest Control.
Yes. The thing about attitude is that's something we can control.
Yeah.
That's totally within our control. Sometimes because I think that I can actually get better on this one. And sometimes, like, before I walk into a place that I'm walking into, I tell myself, like, I'm not going to let the environment determine my attitude. I'm determining my attitude right now. I'm going to go in and own this room with my attitude. So the next letter is L.
Hey, that's just listen.
Yeah.
Listen actively. And let's go on to E before we run out of time.
Yep. Eye contact.
Please look at people.
Mm-hmm.
I have, if you really want people to know you're for them, please put down your phone. Turn off the notifications.
That's good.
That's good. Look them in the eye.
Yeah.
When they're sharing heart with you. In fact, I'll tell you this, Zach. If we would start looking at people more, making eye contact with people, they'd often be more prone to share with us. I've seen this happen with restaurant servers. Where when they would come over to the table, instead of not even noticing them or interacting with them, when me and Janet would start interacting with them, like we went to a restaurant recently. Oh, man. I'm trying to think of where it was, but we got the same server for our second experience there. And she was awesome the first time. She was killing it this time. Like killing it. And Janet and I were just so blown away by her. And, when she would leave the table, Janet would say, Janet has such a heart for these kinds of things. She said, this girl is so awesome. And Janet's like, Chris, we got to give her a good tip, man. You got to go above and beyond with this one. This girl is fantastic. But here's what we've noticed. When you make eye contact with people, it creates opportunities, even in these brief encounters, for meaningful interaction, whether it be, hey, we go to this church down the street, we'd love to have you join us as our guest, or whether it's, hey, if there's anything going on in your life, we'd love to, it creates those opportunities, but it's eye contact that often bridges so many gaps. And I stress this because we're not great at it in 2021.
Yeah, the thing I'm taking away just personally about all of this is living out what you're for, is just be intentional.
Absolutely.
And be purposeful, be missional with the way that you live your life.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in agreement. That was treat everyone with honor, dignity, and respect. We believe in that. The second thing I would suggest under this item would be make kindness your go-to. Live with this disposition of kindness.
Yeah.
And often our homes in 2021 aren't even set up so that we have to interact with our neighbors.
That's true.
So you're going to have to basically go out of your way to be kind. And the old adage is true, Zach. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
That's true.
So just be kind.
Yeah. The next thing is always express gratitude.
Man, gratitude communicates so much. When you're grateful, when you live with that grateful disposition, it just tears down so many walls and builds so many incredible bridges. So we've talked about deliver on expectations and commitments, treat everyone with honor, dignity, and respect, which includes always smile, make kindness your go-to, always express gratitude. Do you see the third one there?
Yeah. Number 3 on how you can just live out a life for people. Create wow experiences for your people. Chick-fil-A calls it second mile service, in case you're wondering.
And we've all been the victim of something like that. Second mile service. When we had the Snowmageddon a few years ago, 280 shut down rather quickly. Drivers stranded in their automobiles. And what does Mark Meadows do?
He's
Owner
out there
operator.
with sandwiches.
They deliver hundreds of sandwiches that day. They even open up their store so that stranded motorists could sleep in it.
Yes.
That's a wow
He got
experience.
national coverage because of that.
And by the way, it wasn't a put on.
Yeah.
It authentically flows
That's right.
through who they are. How can you create a wow experience? You've had this happen before with a neighbor who spontaneously brings you over cookies.
Happened to us the other day. Empanadas. They
Come
were
on.
delicious.
When that happens, what do you think?
I love those guys.
Yeah,
I want more empanadas.
Yeah. They created a wow experience for you. And there are all kinds of opportunities. It's happened when you've been in a Starbucks line. Somebody in front of you pays for your order. Again and again, we can create these kinds of moments. Churches have to figure out how to do this. How many times are people greeted before they get in?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, what happens in the context of that experience that lets people know they matter? Seek to create those wow experiences. Give us the fourth.
Do the right thing. Be authentic and honest.
This is such an important virtue. In 2021, Zach, people crave honesty and authenticity. And one of the things that I regularly, it's sort of a mantra. I don't remember where I heard it, but I remember when I was in South Florida, when I would take my daughter to school, we would always pray before she got out, and I would always pray, Father, help her do the right thing, not the easy or convenient thing. And when you consistently do the right thing, when you're authentic, when you're honest, it communicates such value. Bob Berg, in his bestseller, The Go-Giver Principle, he said, all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust.
That's true.
When you do the right thing, people will trust you.
That's good. The last way that you can develop this type of culture, being for people in your life, or in your business, is to always provide encouragement.
Truett Cathy. I love this. Truett Cathy, the founder of Chick-fil-A, said, do you know what the international sign that someone needs encouragement is? Do you know the international sign that indicates somebody needs encouragement? And people, they would perk up thinking he was about to drop this incredible international sign that someone needs encouragement. And then Truett would say with a smile, they're breathing.
Yeah, if they're breathing.
If they're breathing, they need encouragement.
Absolutely.
I love that. So we desperately need more CEOs in our world. And a CEO is a chief encouragement officer,
yes.
A chief energy officer. Someone who is playing Barnabas to everyone's Paul. When Paul can't get an open door, when Paul is probably feeling insecure, when Paul is feeling overwhelmed by his BC life, what was Barnabas doing? He was saying, hey, dude, I believe in you. Let me introduce you to some folks. Let me open some doors for you that you can't open for yourself. And this is why when Barnabas is referred to in the Bible, it says that his name means son of encouragement.
What a fun way to live.
Oh, what a fun name to be known by.
True. He was known for what he was for.
And don't we want to be known for what we're for?
Yes.
Now, let's break things down. We're 3 or 4 days away from the week that changed the world. Passion Week. Beginning Palm Sunday, we'll walk through that last week of Jesus' life and everything he did, leading up to the cross, leading up to his triumphant resurrection. Zach, over the next few days, more people will Google the word church than at any other time in the year. By the way, that stat comes directly from Google.
That's cool.
More people will Google the word church. In other words, people are going to be looking for a church. And regardless of where you go to church, regardless of whether you're an official team member, you ought to be for the people that are going to walk through the doors of your church. Easter weekend. You ought to be for the Jesus you represent. And you can communicate that through these little principles. Deliver on expectations and commitments. Treat everyone with honor, dignity, and respect. Create wow experiences. Go above and beyond. Be authentic and honest and always provide encouragement. Here's what will happen. Wade talked to us about this a couple of weeks ago. Easter weekend may not begin someone's experience with Jesus, but it could introduce them to a journey that will culminate in them coming to know Jesus. And that has a better chance at happening if people know we're for them.
That's true.
be for people.
Yes.
We're in this for the long haul. We often say at A2, we have a simple strategy. It's invest in people. Invest in them relationally. Just love them. No strings attached, whether they ever come or not. Love them unconditionally. Invest relationally. And then just invite them.
Yes.
And then what may happen, what is likely to happen,
Sure.
is the same thing that happened to you and Shelby this past weekend. You say to a cousin, hey, join us. They walk through the door. Hey, dude, you're here. Yeah, you invited me.
Did you mean it or not when you invited me? Yeah.
Let's let people know. Here's what's at stake, Zach. I know this will be probably the third time I've said this on the podcast. The only thing that will matter 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now, 1,000,000 years from now, is who's in heaven and who is not.
That's good. That's so good.
We want to live so that people know, hey, I didn't, even if they say, I didn't get what they taught. I didn't believe what they believed. I didn't agree with everything they said, but I can tell you this, they were for me. They believed in me. They cared about me. Let's live that kind of life.
Yes.
Let's be those kinds of people. And then let's see how God uses that to make a difference with us and our neighbors, our friends, our relatives, our extended friendships, our work relationships. Let's see what God does in our churches. Let's see what God does in our businesses, because it could be pretty amazing.
I agree.
Anything you want to say as we sign off?
Be for people. Be intentional. Do the things that we're suggesting. Think about these questions. What do you want to be for? And then find a way to analyze what are you currently for, and then get to work.
What do you want to be known for? What are you currently known for?
And then get to work on the thing on that gap.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing. Just be willing to be honest with yourself.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks for joining us for this episode of the Real Faith Podcast. Don't forget, come Palm Sunday morning, we began a series of daily podcasts leading up to Easter called The Week That Changed the World. Invite your friends to listen. Go ahead, subscribe, like, whatever. Set that bell there on YouTube so that you're notified every time an episode drops, because I guarantee you, you do not want to miss a single drop in The Week That Changed the World. It begins Palm Sunday right here on the Real Faith Podcast. Thanks so much for joining us. God bless. This has been the Real Faith Podcast with Chris Goins. Thanks so much for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.